sister's a therapist and I tell jokes. We both want to help all kinds of folks.
Hello, and welcome to My Sister's a Therapist. This is a podcast that Virginia Jones and Laura Ryan do. I'm Virginia Jones. I'm a stand-up comedian, but my sister Laura is a therapist.
Hello, I'm Laura Ryan. I'm a licensed marriage and family therapist, but my main credit is sister to Humor Hurricane, Virginia Jones.
I like Humor Hurricane. It sounds like I can really do some damage.
Absolutely.
In this podcast, we talk about mental health, social stuff, what's happening on TikTok, but we trade topics. So each of us will have a topic alternating week, and the other person doesn't know what we're talking about. This week, it's my turn to not know anything about what we're talking about. Laura, what's our topic?
This topic was inspired by a young lady. She's my son's oldest friend, meaning they've been friends since they were 2. We were having a conversation recently on an outing, and she said to me, I'm never going to work in corporate America. I'm going to be a musician because even if I don't make any money, I'm going to do what makes my heart sing. So the topic today is, should I follow my dreams? Did you hear about Dawn Robinson, the founder of En Vogue?
No.
I found out recently that she has been living in her car for 3 years.
Late stage capitalism is a beast.
Yeah, I would say the entertainment industry is fraught with difficulty. And I feel like everybody wants to do it. Everyone says, oh, I want to be an actor or singer or musician or whatever. But it's the hardest thing to get into. And the likely payoff is the least of all the all the careers.
At this point, Laura, I have known so many comics living in their car, or at least temporarily living in their car. It's no longer even interesting.
But this woman was so huge.
Yes.
We have 2 young listeners, so thank you for listening, guys. But to give context, En Vogue was one of the biggest bands of a 10-year span. They had multiple hits.
Huge in the
Never gonna get it, never
gonna get it. Never gonna get it.
Never gonna get it. Never gonna get. Whoa, 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 whoa.
Laura was actually briefly in En Vogue.
Actually, when we did karaoke during my wedding week, I did sing that song in Mexico, and I was pretty proud of my performance. Let's talk about our listeners real quick.
Okay.
Because I noticed some shifts in listenership. Women are still holding strong at 57.9%. Men are at 39.3%. Hello to our 2.6% non-specified.
We're very proud to have you.
We have 1 listener who is 0 to 17. We have, it looks like 2 listeners that are 18 to 22. Oh, you know what? We have 9.7% listeners that are 23 to 27. Actually, we have grown a little bit.
We're young and hip, guys.
We've got some 28 to 34-year-olds. We got some stuff happening. We have 1 60 and up. I know who that is. We have, according to geography, obviously United States is still holding strong. Turkey still in second position, but we do have a little bit of a mashup on the next. UK, then Australia, then Bangladesh, then Canada, then South Africa, then New Zealand. Bottom rung over here. New Zealand has abandoned us.
What did we do to piss off New Zealand? I guess you said Kiwi, and that's offensive.
Yeah, New Zealand is barely above Germany and Norway. Thank you to our Norwegian listener.
Shout out to our listener in Norway. We know who you are, and we know actually what you're wearing today because we have a camera on you.
Yeah, he looks great. We're going to go ahead and quote our fave, Mark Manson. He wrote an article called Why Some Dreams Should Not Be Pursued. Following your dreams isn't always the answer. And he says, we are all beaten over the head that we should always follow our dreams and always pursue our passions, always turn reality into what we believe will make us happy. Most marketing and advertising is based on this. The majority of the self-help industry pushes this. And with a lifestyle design and self-improvement an obsession of this generation, it has become a borderline religion.
There's a niceness to that idea, but when you look around at the actual world, the number of R&B singers we need versus the number of life insurance actuaries that we need. Was anybody's dream being a life insurance actuary? Was anybody's dream being a lunch lady at a middle school? But we need them. This topic obviously resonates with me. Your kid's friend, she's being sold a bill of goods that everyone gets sold, like you said. I remember in high school, if you were kind of not great at school, struggling to finish assignments, if you had trouble paying attention, people were like, I'm going to be a musician. I'm going to make so much money. It was like the Dire Straits song, Young People, that's an old people band. Money for nothing, chicks for free. What I've learned as an adult is that being an independent musician or even being a signed musician is way harder than being someone who just works a job. You know about being an independent worker without a corporate structure. You have to do every GD thing yourself.
But you also have to pretend that you're not doing it all yourself.
I was having a conversation with you about this, that all of Los Angeles is people who are struggling, people who are trying to stay afloat, but have to project the image of wealth and success because that's part of their job. I know people going to the Oscars, going to the Grammys who don't have gas money to get there, but they need to figure it out because they are a mid-level performer. Like they have a career in this industry or they're a mid-level production person. They need for everybody to see that they're successful in the hopes that they will become more successful. Here's a quote from Mark Manson. To create and define one's own life is viewed as some sort of salvation. To remain trapped within the confines of traditional society is some kind of hell. But this isn't necessarily rock hard capital T truth. In fact, it's largely a cultural belief. The entire modus operandi of the United States was the idea that any person can achieve what they desire, assuming they work hard enough. Individuality and originality have been successfully marketed to us in the past century to the point of parody. We're told that such and such shaving cream will make us, quote, our own man, and that driving a mass-produced sports car is the best way to express ourselves. This is also something that I've thought a lot about. This is what Generation X suffered with. The boomers sold rebellion back to us as a product. Whereas the generation before us, if they wanted to rebel, they would have to drop out of society, paint their face orange, go live in a field. Our generation, it was, oh, if you buy this leather jacket and you buy this malt beverage, if you watch these movies, that's rebellion.
Yeah, if you wear these Doc Marten boots,
you are a rebel. You are an outsider. That's just a consumer product. When you think to yourself, I need X to feel cool, to feel like myself, to project an image that I want. I need a Gucci purse. Replace that with, I need a consumer product and see how stupid it sounds. I need to drive a consumer product so people know who they're dealing with.
Why am I defining myself by stuff? Also from Mark Manson, whether it's a new career, being the best dressed person at a party, reaching enlightenment, or pursuing a tryst with a woman halfway around the planet, we're told that we owe it to ourselves to go out and get it. And we're some type of failure if we don't. Now, buy this hemorrhoid cream for $19.95. Even when I started my first online business, it was with an eye to cash in quickly and then finally start my belated career as a musician. Even as recently as a year ago, I bought a guitar with half a mind to start practicing again and join a band in some of the locations I ended up living.
The thing is that there's nothing wrong with Mark wanting to be in a band. And I think it's really good for people to be in bands and sing and paint. But when the rest of society tells you, you need to make money at this, or you need to make all your money at this, that's a trap. And that's
when the trouble starts.
When I started doing comedy, coming up on 19 years ago, you're getting all your advice from little scumbag open micers that you hang out with. You go from being friends with normal people with houses and spouses and lives to being friends with little scumbags in dirty hoodies who smoke pot where the bike racks are. And one of the myths of the open micer is the grind. And the grind means you're working at this every day and you can't do anything else. That if you do a day job, you're never going to make it because you're not working hard enough.
And if you listen to famous comedians, that's what they'll tell you too. That's what Steve Harvey says. That's what Jerry Seinfeld says. I think Steve Harvey was living in his car when he got his first big gig.
None of the little scumbag comics that were telling me that still do comedy because they were not able to sustain a life with that.
But they're just like the lead singer of En Vogue. They get to live in their cars.
For a long time, I was doing comedy, doing well at it. Had gigs, but I had this day job and I was getting burnt out. But I was also super resentful of my day job because I'm like, well, this is keeping me from driving to Walla Walla, Washington and doing a job for $100 on a Wednesday. Now I have a corporate job and I appreciate it because it gives me things like paid days off, which I didn't have for a decade. That's a real benefit. I can do comedy on my own terms. There's things that don't serve me and I don't have to do those things. The grind is the myth that if you are out every night doing open mics, if you are saving your money and applying to every comedy festival, every time a headliner you like comes in town, just hanging out and like pressing them with questions about how do you make it, that's the way to do it. And that is the way to live in your car.
If you're really committed, you just agree to live in your car. In my most recent musical project that somehow came to a grinding halt when I had a baby.
Weird.
Yeah. My bandmate really wanted to live that road life. He's like, I just want to be on a bus. I want to be playing music every night. I want to just go to city and eat gas station food and all the things. And I said, dude, I don't want that. So good luck, because I'm not ever doing that. I like singing. The end.
I like singing. I like being on stage. I like doing shows. I like doing shows in Austin where I can go home and go to sleep.
Wait, I don't mind playing a couple gigs a month, but his commitment level was way higher than mine. And I feel like sometimes it gets in the way.
A friend of mine posted on social media, something along the lines of looking at someone else's career and recognizing that you're probably funnier than that individual, but you had no interest in networking that hard. You had no interest in every conversation you have is about your career. I just didn't have that same work ethic that person did. And that's okay. That is all right that I am not doing comedy full time. Comedy can be on my terms. But despite fantasizing about this rock and roll stardom for over half of my life, the reality never came. And it took me a long time to figure out why. I didn't actually want it. I'm in love with the result. The image of me on stage, people cheering, me rocking out, putting everything I have into what I'm playing. But I'm not in love with the process. The daily drudgery of practicing, the logistics of finding a group and rehearsing, the pain of finding gigs and actually getting people to show up and give the broken strings, the blown tube amp. I've done that. Hauling 40 pounds of gear to and from rehearsals with no car. It's a mountain of a dream and a mile-high climb to the top. And what it took me a long time to discover is that I don't like to climb. I just want to imagine the top. This is extremely true. A lot of comedians are thinking about the future them that's going to be happy because they have this thing or that thing, or they've been on this list, or they were on late night. If you're not enjoying comedy in the here and now, you got to get out, because that's what you can guarantee that you're going to do is comedy in the here and now.
I guarantee that you will be eating gas station food at some point and sleeping on a bus, which are two things I'm not willing to do.
There's a difference between sleeping on your bus that has your name and face on it that you've paid a person to drive, and sleeping on a Greyhound bus, which is very accessible dream.
Also
very accessible. I know a comic who did a summer tour, didn't have a car, but Greyhound was running some kind of special where you could travel all you wanted for all summer for $100. And he lived his life on a Greyhound bus that summer. I thought it was a brilliant idea, because there's no way that you can drive across the country in your own car and make enough money
to make it worth it. Yeah.
Right. That's really smart.
Back to Mark Manson. Our culture would tell me that I've somehow failed myself. Self-help would say that I either wasn't courageous enough, determined enough, or I didn't believe in myself enough. Lifestyle designers would tell me that I gave in to my conventional role in society. I'd be told to do affirmations or join a mastermind group or something. The truth is far less interesting than that. I thought that I wanted something, but I didn't. End of story.
When I came to Austin to do a comedy festival for the express purpose of doing comedy that my mother could come see me do. And then what happened after that is that she accidentally heckled me throughout my entire set. And when I say accidentally, I don't think she knew it was heckling, but she did yell at me to try to direct attention to herself my whole set. There was a performer on that show named Sarah Benincasa, and she had just published a book called Real Artists Have Day Jobs. At the time, I think I was 3 or 4 years into comedy. I was really resistant to that message. And she's kind of transitioned to being an author, and she writes great books. In 2009, she was saying things like, having a day job does not diminish your artistic identity. You can balance your creative life and your practical life. He's inspired other people. People are still reading his poetry today. And being a dentist didn't take anything away from his poetry. I think the trap is this. What capitalism tells us all the time is if your art form is not just giving you money, but giving you all your money, then it's not worth anything. It's not worth doing, and you're not a real artist. And I have, over many years of self-reflection and therapy and thinking about this, come to the conclusion that I have to separate money from my artistic goals. I've seen many people who I find painfully unfunny make it in comedy in a way that I won't, because they were the right person at the right time. And that has to be okay. I have to accept that that's part of show business. It's not show art.
Okay, so there's another Mark Manson quote.
So this quote is, what's motivating you? Take a long, hard look at what's really driving you. Is it some compensation for an unmet need, or is it a genuine expression of enthusiasm and joy? The fact that I fantasized about being on stage in front of thousands of screaming fans, and I didn't fantasize about writing or playing new songs, is telling. He just had a picture in his head of what was going to feel good to him. And I'm sorry for people who are not in comedy and that I'm putting everything towards my art form, but I think this stuff is practical across anything. A lot of comedy is about pecking order, establishing who's better than who's been doing it longer than whom, snubbing people who you don't think are good enough. And that's BS. I've had to really look at what I want from comedy. And what I really want is the flow state. When you're on stage, the ideas are flowing and you're communicating them immediately. And it might be material you've done before, but you find something else in it, connects with the audience, and they're laughing and you're having a good time together. That's the thing that I really want. And it's just artistic expression. And it doesn't really have to be anything else. And that was really freeing. You do really have to think, if I want to pursue this art form, what is it that I think it will say about me if I am successful? What is it that I am looking for from it? Am I really looking to write stuff and communicate and express myself and connect with others? Or do I just want to be on a stage with people screaming my name? Because you can do that by killing someone, honestly.
What I want, if anyone's asking, is a Celine Dion Vegas lifestyle where all the lighting, all the sound stuff is managed, and I just go on stage and perform, and then I just go back to my hotel room and sleep.
And you're in a beautiful dress.
And I have a hair and makeup team. I want all of those things. If somebody just said, here's a giant check, would you be willing to do shows every night for the next 6 months in Vegas? I would say absolutely.
Part of our frustration as artists and creative people is the fantasy that this is a meritocracy. Laura has a very nice singing voice. I always love to hear her sing.
She also has a youthful glow and the appearance of a pop singer.
For sure. I didn't get to ever see her perform in a band live, but I've watched recordings and they're great. I'm always so excited and proud to see her. Just having a nice voice is not all that it takes. And this is what I'm particularly concerned about with your kid's friend. The needle is moving for women in rock very slowly. As of this recording, to be a woman in music, you don't just have to have a nice voice. You don't have to write your own songs. That's a good thing. You can have other people do that for you. But you need to be rocking your birth weight every day of your life. You need to get on stage in very fancy underwear.
Yeah, you cannot wear pants.
Pantslessness is a big component of being a female pop star.
Did I tell you this? Like, I was watching a Sabrina Carpenter performance and I was like,
Exactly what I'm thinking of.
Look at that. She has a very moderate dress that goes to her shins. And then, of course, she rips it off and she's not wearing any pants. And she has.
And we've just decided that that's what a woman in rock looks like.
It's insane.
When you look at men in rock, men don't dress that slutty, and I think they should be sluttier.
Okay, so we're going to read from Melissa Kirk. The problem with Follow Your Dreams is the article. Unless your dream consists of working at a job that provides a health care and a living wage, most people with these longings can only really afford to indulge them part-time. That's just life, and personal responsibility is arguably more valuable than any vague passion.
In my art form, frequently people who have kids, especially if they're women, it's just understood they're going to leave the art form. You can't easily raise a child while you're going out every night, especially if you don't have a partner who's willing to take on responsibility for childcare. It's just understood like, well, I'm out. And the challenge that I have with day job is that you're making someone else rich. You're never going to be rich having a day job. That also takes a lot of risk with it. Everything's a balance. Melissa Kirk continues, then there's the completely questionable assumption that there's such a thing as a, quote, purpose that we have besides living, growing, and loving one another, that sometime before we were born, we were assigned a larger purpose. The thing we're doing now called life, working, connecting, cleaning the house, raising the kids, writing the blog posts aren't enough. The workshops on finding your purpose are designed to play on modern Westerners' fear that life, which is so often a slog, is the only thing there is. But what if this is all there is and it's okay? I do know people who say things like, I was born to be a comedian, or I was born to be a dancer. In what way is that possible? Comedy, particularly, is a 200-year-old art form. What Melissa's saying here is a lot of us are driven towards things, driven towards money-making, fame. Fame is like a side effect of something. Hopefully, it's a side effect of doing something well, but it can't be the pursuit. That can't in of itself be what you want to do.
And this idea that there's a purpose for me, that I was made for something. I remember watching a really interesting TED Talk that I'm sure I've referenced. This gentleman was raised in a rural area in China, and his parents had a rice farm. And he said It was a very simple life. You have your seasons, you plant the rice, you grow the rice, and then the rest of the time you just hang out with your family. And he said, I was happy, but I was broke. Someone convinced me to go to mainland China and go into the city and work a job and go to college and do all the things. So he did. And he became a lawyer. And he said his life was dog poop. He just went back and started farming again.
Yeah, the thing that's motivating you to move away from your family's life is this idea that you're better than them, that you deserve more, that you need something else to justify your existence. And you really don't. And these are lessons that I struggle with. You are inherently not worth any more or less than anyone else. Driving a nice car or wearing expensive clothes, it doesn't change your value as a human. It's going to change your experience. You might feel some good things, but it doesn't change what you're worth.
We're going to try on another perspective. This is from Sam Holstein. 6 reasons pursuing your dreams is the only thing worth doing. Anyone with a brain between their ears recognizes that most childhood dreams don't come true. Most of us don't become rock stars, famous actors, or inspired painters. Most people who found startups fail. And most people allow that to stop them. They say to themselves, the chances of me achieving my dreams are slim. There's no point in trying. But what does it matter? Even if the chances of all your hard work paying off are dangerously low, what does it matter? Most people don't become the rock stars or billionaire entrepreneurs they dream of becoming, but that doesn't mean they end up in a ditch on the side of the road.
We presented this as the other perspective. I think this is totally conducive with the rest of the stuff we've been saying. There's no reason not to pursue the art form that you like. Just because you're not going to be famous for it doesn't change the fact that that's going to give you a creative outlet. It's going to, as we say, fill your cup. 100% you should pursue the thing that you love. Don't conflate that with needing to make your living from it or needing to be extremely successful to be happy.
There was an Austrian painter who didn't do well with his painting, but he had a very illustrious career. Before he passed, he did some things in government that were pretty successful. You've heard of him.
People talk about him every day.
People still talk about him.
This is from the same article. If you aim to be a billionaire entrepreneur, the chances of you becoming a billionaire entrepreneur are low, but your chances of becoming a reasonably wealthy entrepreneur with a thriving business are much higher. Often people who fail to achieve the very pinnacle of their dreams still end up achieving wonderful and worthwhile things. A hard thing about doing comedy as an art form is that regular people only understand 2 kinds of comics. One is Jerry Seinfeld, and then the other one is an open micer. Because I am between those 2 things, people know that I'm not Jerry Seinfeld. So they think that I must be an
open micer.
Right. And I try to just take it for what it is. But people say things like, good luck. And I'm like, I don't need luck if I'm doing a bar show.
You do need luck because you don't want to fall off the stage and break your legs.
That's true.
You don't want the light to come down and smash your face up. There's still luck involved.
That's true, I suppose.
That is your ego talking, though. When you push away this idea of someone trying to say good luck, that's your ego talking because you're saying, well, I don't need luck because I'm...
Yeah, you are correct. It feels like if you're doing your first acting gig in a community theater, going out for your first show, and someone says, good luck, break a leg. And if you said that to Meryl Streep, she would find that annoying.
No, she wouldn't, because Meryl Streep is a human being. And just like every other human being, she has her own insecurities. I was listening to the podcast with Ben Stiller and Adam Scott, the Severance podcast. These 2 gentlemen are so insecure. And every actor on the show is so insecure.
I think Christopher Walken is pretty confident, but it's because he's really trying to be a dancer.
I haven't heard his podcast interview yet, but I'm going to guess that he's probably not bulletproof. No human is bulletproof. We all need encouragement and support.
There's a comedian that I have enjoyed a lot through my life, and he is a successful headliner. He's been on a million things. As his mom was on her deathbed, she said, I worry about you and your career. And he said, Mom, I'm successful. I am doing okay. And she said, I'm sure you know best. And he's like, I do know best. I do know best, Mother. That was an amazing lesson for me because doing this in order to impress my father, it's a waste of my time and energy. I should only pursue this if it's good for me.
Right. I think doing anything to impress anyone is a dumb idea. I'm going to read from that same article.
Okay.
Many people realize in the course of following their dreams that their dream isn't really their dream after all. They follow their dream of becoming a doctor through 5 years of medical school, only to realize halfway through the 6th that what they really want to do is be a drug rehabilitation counselor. They follow their dream of becoming a billionaire entrepreneur only to realize that what they really want is to run a charitable lifestyle business. From far away, we think we want something only to get closer and realize it isn't really what we want after all.
Yeah. And I think that you're only going to get to that conclusion by really examining, like, what am I getting from this? What do I want from this? What am I willing to give up to get it? And that's how you find that conclusion of what I'm looking for is the feeling of helping people and connecting with people. And you can do that. You can't control whether you become a billionaire entrepreneur who gets to be in the government and ruin it. You can control how you live your life and what you're spending your energy with.
I heard on that same podcast interview with Tramell Harris, he was halfway through medical school before he realized he was looking around at the people around him and he was seeing that they were so passionate and so moved by medicine. And he was like, well, this isn't really my thing.
A lot of people wind up in medicine just because they're extremely smart and they test well and they know they can do it. But if you're not passionate about it, I think it's a bummer to go to work and just listen to people talk about how sick they are every day and try to figure out. Continuing in this article, most people who have successfully achieved their dreams have utter failures in their past. And this is true. There's no one who is a success who has never failed. And you can say that to yourself every day. The lessons they learned from those failures become invaluable in helping them achieve their present success. Without those failures, they would never have done what they did. Giving something everything you have is rewarding in a deep, fundamental way. You no longer have to wonder if you're going to die with your potential unfulfilled. You are going to go to your grave having given life everything you have to give. At the end of the night and at the end of your life, you will be able to rest easy. You will feel fulfilled. This extremely resonates because I 100% believe this. And this is why I moved to Los Angeles, because I was meeting people who were frustrated, who said things like, if I didn't live in Portland, I could be successful. And I'm like, I don't want to be that person. Whatever happens, I want to know that I did everything I could.
I want to do it on my own steam. And I think this was a really important exercise for you to live.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like it was really important for you to go and try and do all the things, because I don't know about you, but I don't want to be on my deathbed saying I could have been Barbara Streisand.
I never regret going out there. I got so much from it. I learned so much from it. I wouldn't be the comic that I am today. And I'm happy with the comic that I am today.
Absolutely. From the same article. All this to say, you can control your effort, but you can't control the outcome. If you put work into something, whether it's a startup or a relationship, there's always a chance it will come to nothing. That's okay. Do it anyway. It's worth it.
I've known comics who had so much talent, but no hustle. And they failed much faster than comics who had so much hustle and no talent. You can't control what kind of brain you have, what your artistic voice is. You can control work. You can't control the outcome.
Also, you can't control your age. You can't control your body type. You can't control your gender. Those things are also working against you. I made a TikTok this week.
Laura's on TikTok at I am Laura Ryan.
Yeah, if anyone's interested. I made a TikTok where I used a voiceover from Jason Alexander where he was talking about how his plan was to be a Shakespearean actor. And he had an acting coach who said, that's great. He said, you've got the chops for it, but you're an overweight, balding, 5'2" man, and they're never going to give you that. You've got to go where the work is. And so you've got to be in comedy.
And he got success by being in a hamburger commercial for McDonald's. And that led to everything else. He didn't start out his career saying, what I really want to do is sell hamburgers for McDonald's.
That's how I started my career. And look where it's gotten me.
That's true.
Now I'm going to read from an article from a very important source, Us Weekly, Celebs Career Backup Plans. It's funny to me to hear about celebrities having a backup plan. Kelly Rowland said, I wanted to be a psychiatrist, but I made my first million as a singer at 18 years old. That's when I figured I would do well enough for myself. Megan Fox said, I wanted to be an archaeologist, and I still want to do that now. I would love to shadow someone and go on a couple of digs. I think it's amazing, and it holds all the answers. Yeah, so Kelly Rowland could have been a psychiatrist. Kelly Rowland could have been your psychiatrist.
Yep. Reese Witherspoon wanted to be a surgeon and pediatric cardiologist. She seems like the kind of waspy, moneyed background person who could have done that. Kerry Washington thought she would be a whale trainer at SeaWorld. That's adorable, but it also means that she could have been unalived by a killer whale who was being abused. Julia Roberts said that if she wasn't an actress, she would be a home economics teacher. That is not a job that exists anymore, so thank God she made it big doing her little acting thing. George Clooney was going to be a baseball player. He would have been a baseball player until he was 35. Like, these guys burn out. And George Clooney has managed to be the sexiest man alive for almost his whole life.
Those are from People Magazine's article, 15 Celebs Backup Careers If They Were Not Famous.
Celebrities, they're just like us.
Well, Eva Longoria wanted to be a physical therapist. I was watching the 50 SNL series. Did you know that Jason Sudeikis got the SNL tryout because his uncle, George Wendt, actually called Lorne Michaels and got him the tryout?
There's a new cast member named Jane Wickline. They are super weird and awkward and very funny. TikTok was very excited when they booked the gig because they had done a lot of great TikTok content. People were like, oh, wow, TikTok comedians are actually getting other stuff. No, Jane Wickline's dad used to be the personal assistant for Lorne Michaels. There's very little in this world that is not connected to someone you know. And that's the thing. I'm not saying Jane's not very funny. They are.
Very talented.
Very talented individual. But behind them, there's another 10,000 extremely talented individuals who could have that spot.
That's the part 2 of what I want to tell my son's friend. Mm-hmm. It looks real easy to be famous and all the things. I feel like most of us don't understand how very much this has to do with how much money your family has and how much pull your family has. This is from the article 53 Celebrities You Forgot Were Nepo Babies from Famous Families by Kristyn, Burtt, and Delilah Gray. Tracy Ellis Ross, known for her role in Girlfriends and Blackish, is the daughter of musical legend Diana Ross. Lily Collins, Emily in Paris star Collins, is the daughter of British rock legend Phil Collins, known for hits like In the Air Tonight. George Clooney, back to George, was born for the screen just like his dad, Nick Clooney, who was a journalist, anchorman, and television host who even had his own talk show.
I have Jamie Lee Curtis, star of Halloween, A Fish Called Wanda, and Everything Everywhere All at Once. Most importantly, the star of Trading Places.
One of the most important films of our time. If you haven't watched it, do yourself a favor.
Jamie Lee Curtis is the daughter of fellow screen queen Janet Leigh, who is known for her roles in Psycho and Bye Bye Birdie. Her dad, Tony Curtis, was also an actor known for his roles in Some Like It Hot and Operation Petticoat. Not to say that Jamie Lee Curtis isn't fantastic.
She's incredibly talented, but I just feel like, what are the odds that all of these people happen to have incredibly famous parents? Right. Robert Downey Jr., the Iron Man star and Oppenheimer Oscar winner, does however, have a claim to fame in another way. His father, Robert Downey Sr., was a filmmaker known for the underground film Putney Swope, which I have actually seen because I have hung around with artsy people. Kate Hudson, 2000s rom-com star Kate Hudson, star of How to Lose a Guy in 10 Days. Goldie Hawn is her mother, known for her roles in Cactus Flower and First Wives Club.
Jennifer Aniston from Friends is the daughter of Days of Our Lives star John Aniston. I didn't know that one. Margaret Qualley, who is impossibly gorgeous, is making a name for herself in Netflix series Made and hit movies Poor Things and Kinds of Kindness. I first saw her in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. She's following in the footsteps of mom Andie MacDowell, the star of Groundhog Day and Sex, Lies, and Videotape, which when I was a young person watching Andie MacDowell, I also thought, this woman is impossibly frickin' beautiful. You couldn't make a more perfect face than that. Kiefer Sutherland, 24 star, most importantly, Lost Boys, also has famous parents, actors Donald Sutherland and Shirley Douglas. Rising star Sosie Bacon, who starred in Smile, Mayor of Easttown and 13 Reasons Why, is the daughter of Kevin Bacon and Kira Sedgwick, who is also very, very beautiful.
Dakota Johnson became a household name overnight thanks to her role in 50 Shades of Grey, but she was well prepared for fame thanks to her parents, Melanie Griffith and Don Johnson. So part of it is the sway of Hollywood and having people in your life who can back you up. But I think the other part of this is having an insane amount of money. There's a guy who does TikToks who specifically focuses on musicians and says these people would not have careers if they did not have rich parents.
Many actors, especially SNL actors, when they're asked about like, how did you get here? They say, oh, I moved out to New York or I moved out to California. I fell in with a group of people in my improv training, which is very expensive to do and takes a lot of time. And if you are working a day job, it's hard to do it. And then I was just in every project that they all made, all these unpaid gigs, which is very hard to do if you're trying to support yourself. If you have a means of support, it's not like they're buying their place into Hollywood, but it's a lot easier to spend all of your time on your passion if you don't have to feed yourself. Taylor Swift, who is famous from being Taylor Swift, her father, Scott Swift, is the founder of the Swift Group, and her mother was a marketing executive for a significant period. Both of her parents were pretty well off to give the pop star a wonderful, privileged childhood. Hannah Einbinder, who is in Hacks, and who is very funny. Articles started being written about her saying, oh, she's a New York comedian and like,
Ingenue.
I don't know every female comic out there.
But I've literally never heard of this chick.
I've never heard of this chick. And I'm much stronger on West Coast than East Coast. But you look into it, you scratch the surface. Her mother is Lorraine Newman from SNL. Lady Gaga, Stephanie Germanotta, was raised on the Upper West Side of New York. Her father owned and operated Guest Wi-Fi, a tech-based company that deals with Wi-Fi for the hotel industry. Perhaps you've used Wi-Fi on it. I know that I have. And her mother worked as a senior executive at the tech giant Verizon. They weren't insiders, but they had the money to support their daughter's run for her dreams.
Exactly. Adam Levine, the lead vocalist of the band Maroon 5, had an affluent upbringing. He was born in Los Angeles to Frederick Levine and Patsy Noah. His father established a successful retail clothing business with several stores in the Los Angeles region, and his mother was an admissions counselor. Despite being divorced, the couple gave him a very comfortable lifestyle and paid for his expensive education at the Brentwood School, where Adam met the other members of his band Maroon 5.
Wild.
What are the odds that a bunch of super rich kids had a successful band? Ed Sheeran, we've all seen him busking as a young person. His father worked at Cartwright Hall as an art curator, and his mother served at Manchester City Art Gallery. She is now a jewelry designer. The multi-talented singer also owns an art consultancy named Sheeran Locke.
Robin Thicke, born to celebrity parents Alan Thicke and Gloria Loring. His father was an actor who was well known for his role as Jason Seaver in Growing Pains. He also wrote the theme songs to Different Strokes, The Facts of Life, and Wheel of Fortune. His mother acted in the soap opera Days of Our Lives. So Robin Thicke then went on to have a lot of success with the song Blurred Lines, and then immediately got in trouble for
blurring lines,
for groping people, and also for stealing too much of that song and not giving credit. It's like when Amy Winehouse wrote Rehab. Sometimes they sing about the thing that's actually a problem.
Yeah, I think she should have stayed, if anyone's asking. So, Virginia, what are your final thoughts on this quite interesting topic that you are quite passionate about?
Well, if you are a young performer or drawn to performance, just keep an eye on what's motivating that. When people tell you you can't be successful at this unless it's all you're doing and you need to suffer, question that. If you're performing or making art or doing macrame, resist the pressure of society to tell you that you need to be making money at it. That's capitalist BS. You can have a very fulfilling creative life that never makes you any money. And it's still a valid thing to put your time and energy into because it's giving you pleasure and it's giving you intellectual stimulation and it's something that you can enjoy and be proud of. Laura, what are your final thoughts on this topic?
My final thoughts on this topic are advice to my son's bestie. Your parents are middle class and to my knowledge do not have any connections in the music business. I would say find a day job that pays your bills and you feel some meaning out of and pursue your stuff on the weekends because I love performing. I love singing. I think it's awesome, but the odds are super against me and I didn't have millionaire parents. That doesn't mean that I can't have a very meaningful, obviously I do have a very meaningful career. It's just doing something different than singing for large crowds or writing novels because that was my other plan.
Also, you were going to be a painter. Laura's a very creative individual.
I found a paper that I had written in, I think it was 5th grade, and I was talking about how I was going to be a fine artist, and that's how I was going to make my living. And I think if I had lived a few hundred years ago, and I had had my own patron and lived in the castle with them and was a man, I probably could have done it. I think that could have worked for me, but we don't have that world. We basically have, at this point, a YouTube or TikTok. If I can get a successful YouTube or TikTok out there and be incredibly talented and meet all of the societal beauty standards and be the right age, then I'm good. But most things all culminate that I'm kind of in trouble. The way that I have made my passions fit into my current career, I edit this podcast and I sing to my clients. And every day I do a hypnosis session, I wing it the whole time so I can be creative and do fun things and not have a plan. I think I am pursuing my passions. They're just not in the way that I thought I was going to.
You mentioned TikTok and YouTube. One of the gifts of life today, one of the difficult things is that there's a lot of content. There's a lot of noise in the world, and the signal to noise ratio is sometimes not good. In the past, for you to even make a video, you would have had to be hired by a studio. You would have had to jump through all of these hoops. And now You can make anything you want. Your kid's friend, when she gets older and starts working on her craft, she could record stuff on SoundCloud. She could record stuff and release it on Apple Music. She has these tools that people didn't used to have. And that's at the same time very challenging and very cool. But I've mentioned it before. It's part of why I moved back to Portland, because I felt like people who had been above me in the industry, who we saw as the only path to success, started asking, and how many TikTok followers do you have? How many people are going to buy tickets for your shows? What are you doing to promote yourself? If it's all on my back, I don't have to be here.
I can do that anywhere.
I mean, this podcast, 50 years ago, we would have had to have gotten a radio show. That would have taken a lot more work than just buying some microphones.
Well, I think we've done more than just buying some microphones. The industry is different, but I still feel like it's really hard. And I have confidence that this young lady, if she ever learns to play guitar or sing, she probably could have a very successful TikTok account because she's beautiful and funny and very smart.
Shout out to the unnamed friend. Laura, if people want to find out more about you, we've mentioned your TikTok, I am Laura Ryan. Where else can people find you on the internet?
If they'd like to follow my business or make an appointment with me, they can go to lauraryan.org. If they're interested in the podcast and want to listen to all of our episodes in one place, they can go to My Sister's a Therapist podcast. They can also follow us on Instagram at My Sister's a Therapist Instagram account. Virginia, if people want to find out about your professional comedy career, how would they go about doing that?
You can find me on www.badinia.com. You can find me on TikTok at Badinia and on Instagram at Badinia. If you've ever been to a show, I've probably given you a sticker with scannable codes for all of my things. Last night, I did a show in a beer hall and a very drunk older man looked at it and said, "But is your name on this?" And I said, "Well, yeah, it's in the codes. Like you click on the codes." He's like, "But you have to have a name."
Do you know how to scan a code?
I eventually gave up. Laura, now is the time where you sometimes read a review or a nice comment someone's written for us. And if you'd like to be featured on this part of the podcast, all you got to do is write a review on Apple, Spotify, or Amazon Music, or write us an email. Do you have something to share this week?
I certainly do. This is a 5-star review from Apple Podcasts. And the title is My New Favorite Podcast. The author is Flav Menka. When I was a kid, I listened to Car Talk with Click and Clack in the car with my dad all the time. Although I was never very interested in car repair, I loved the banter between the two brothers. They were so funny and they played off each other so well with an endless supply of great puns. They were full of good jokes and great rapport that only comes from knowing someone your whole life. When I listen to My Sister's a Therapist podcast, it takes me back to Click and Clack. It's delightful the way that Laura and Virginia play off each other so well and have so many great inside jokes. They are really informative and also really entertaining. I am thoroughly enjoying it. This is my first podcast review ever, but I just wanted to let everyone know how much I love My Sister's a Therapist. Thanks, Virginia and Laura.
Well, thank you, Flav. To be compared to Tom and Ray Magliozzi is a huge compliment. I was also a huge fan of that show as a kid.
I was a fan of that show as an adult. I don't give one damn about car repair, but I did love listening to their content. And the good news is we talk about things that everyone cares about. So thank you, Flav Menka.
Wrapping up, I just want to remind us that a great man, Billy Ray Valentine Capricorn, once said, "We can make it, baby."
Me and you.
Bye-bye.